Hey everyone, welcome to D Time, Season 1, Episode 28, Growing Up. And wow, this topic really hits home for me. When I think of growing up, I think of the when I turned 18 and going off for college for the first time. I wanted to move as far away from home as possible. Not because I didn't like where I grew up, but I just wanted that new experience. And I decided to go to college in Jackson, Mississippi at Jackson State University. And I remember vividly, getting on that Greyhound bus and driving off to Mississippi. Side note, my luggage was sent to Jackson, Michigan instead of Mississippi. So that was a fun few days of not having any clothes to wear when I got to school. And so I think of that. I think of that being the first big boy adult, somewhat adult move of my life. And I know times are different in the college experience, and things have changed, or maybe they haven't, but it seems like they have. But I remember that being a really significant moment of my life when I felt like I had grown up, or I was growing up. And so I thought it'd be cool to kind of touch on that with a current college student here at the University of Washington, Emeka, who's going to school here in Seattle, and just talk with him about his experiences, moving away from home, starting that growing up process in a sense, and seeing what he has to share about his experiences. And so I want to hear from those listening. What was your first quote unquote growing up moment in your life, and how did it affect you in that time? I know that the time for me, again, going to school for the first time, played a huge role in my life, and I still vividly, again, I can remember the sights, smells, the feelings, all those things, and it's helped my decision making, help inform, how I go about new things now. But I'm sure it's the same for most people. But I want to hear what those experiences were, what you learned, what you wish you knew uh, going into those situations, and see what parallels, or see what we can learn from each other in that respect. So stick around for part two. I sit down with Emeka and talk with him about growing up. And drop us a line at DTime Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and through Gmail at dtimepodcast@gmail.com. See you in part two. Peace. Hey, welcome back to D Time, episode 28. I'm here with my good friend Emeka. Emeka, what's going on, man?
Hey, bro, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good, man. So I wanted to know, before we dive in, man, if you could take a couple minutes to introduce yourself to those who may be listening.
Sure. My name is Emeka Emeche. I'm a Nigerian American born here in 1999. But I've been living in Washington all my life, and I'm currently going to college here at UW at Seattle right now.
Awesome. So today's episode is kind of about, growing up. And the first part I talked about, I looked back at my first time, going to college and kind of going away from home, and my thoughts around that. And I know that, growing up in the state, going to UW, but, and away from home. So I wanted to kind of dive into that topic. But first off, so when you think about your upbringing, and how you were raised, how you grew up, in what ways do you feel like that shaped who you are today?
Honestly, growing up, it was a bit weird, but at the same time, to some people, it could be jarring, because I grew up on a different culture, a Nigerian culture. They really value family a lot. But at the same time, the main thing that I can just take away from it is how hard I have to work at things.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, so when you think about, when you first started school, and if I correct, you're a sophomore in college right now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you think about when you first left home, a few years ago, what would you say is the biggest difference from then until now?
First starting college?
Personal growth.
I'm not quite understanding.
Yeah, so like how do you feel like you've grown or changed since you first left for college?
Oh, okay. Honestly, like it's been like a wild ride to be honest. Like, well, like I say like the main part of me that's grown. The thing that comes to mind is confidence because earlier on, like well, coming to college, like I first came with dreams and hopes, but then, as what people know, college isn't exactly the most easiest thing like ever.
Hmm.
Man, like grades, classes, and academics and stuff. Like all that can essentially wear you down, and it in some cases like it can really like question on whether on whether that dream that you had earlier will truly come true. But then
Hmm.
the thing for me like to keep on going is just like have that confidence in me to keep going, and even if it doesn't work out, there's always another way to actually reach the goal that I'm striving to aim for.
Awesome, awesome. Now, uh, for you, by the time this airs, it'll be, the year 2020. But for you now, what are you looking forward the most, in 2020?
But for me, like I just want to like be out of myself more, like be more confident, be more confident in myself earlier, and especially in the church as well.
Hmm.
Like I really want to grow up into a leader more, especially like song lead, especially.
Hmm.
And to really make an impact on music and to make sure that it truly like strikes people's hearts.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. For those listening, Mecca is an amazing singer. Um, I'd always joke with you about releasing an album, but I'm like half serious, man. You have an amazing voice, so yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing you sing more in the future, man. If you have the voice, like if I had your voice, bro, I'd be singing every single day, just for no reason.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries, man. So, and going back to, leaving home and kind of leaving, a place that, that's familiar for a long period of time and going to college, what would you share with someone who's kind of about to go through the same situation, about to leave home and go to school for the first time away from, a culture they're familiar with to kind of the unknown challenges that college brings? What would you share with that person?
Um, I pretty much say that if that that when you leave home, like take every opportunity that you can because it's an opportunity for you to grow into an adult even more.
Mhm.
Like I'm like 20 right now. Like my birthday was like around like last Wednesday, I believe, on December 11th, and things have honestly changed a lot, and especially the fact of well, I'm mainly like thinking back on the choices that I would have made and choices that I should have made um in order to improve myself as a person. And oh yeah, and especially while leaving home, like sure, like they may be free
Mhm.
from like parents and authority, but at the same time, it's still important to like actually go back to them, well, like and
Mhm.
update you on what you're doing because but they care about you and they worry about you, and especially my time in college, like in some cases, like I sort of got tired of my parents, like all my parents, like constantly like nagging me and stuff.
Mhm.
And so like as a result, like I didn't really take their feelings into consideration, especially just because like I'm like the last like child in my family.
Mhm.
Um, well, like well, it's like a new like transition for them as well. In order for them, in order to be used to living alone instead of like having all three of my brothers with me. So
Yeah.
like I'd say like cherish the family you have, and at the same time, make sure that they're loved. But
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great input, man. So kind of piggybacking on that, man, I always like to ask, people I sit down and chat with, about a great piece of advice that's been shared with them. So for you, what's been a great piece of advice that someone shared with you? And if you don't have a top one, maybe, something recent that stood out to you, that's helped you.
that's a tough question. Lots
Yeah.
of great advice I had, and I'm gonna have to think about it for a tiny bit though.
Hmm. Yeah. What about anything lately?
Well, I guess like a thing that I've learned like recently is to just, well, it's to just like stay true to yourself
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really worth like going after things without
Mm-hmm.
making change as a person. But at the same time, like staying true to yourself and especially like staying true to the dreams and aspirations you have,
Mm-hmm.
like it'll constantly build you up as a person. It builds your character even more, and it also like hones what and at the same time, like it also hones like the good traits that you do have, and even strengthening up the weaknesses or that you do have. It in order to help people, in order to really like learn like how to fight those weaknesses and turn them into strengths. And it's honestly a thing that I personally learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Well, man, I know that again, man, 2020 is going to there's a lot of great things in store for you, man. Again, for those listening, be on the lookout for Emeka's debut album in 2020. And go in and buy the album once it comes out. I'm just kidding, man. But thanks, man, for taking the time
Album
out
TBT right now.
and talking about, your experience growing up, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Sure, sure. For those,
anytime.
yeah, for those listening, you can follow this podcast on D-Time Podcast on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook as well. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Even share your experiences growing up and how things have changed from when you stayed at home to now. I'd love to hear about them, but feel free to drop us a line in the comments or at dtimepodcast@gmail.com. Emeka, thanks again, bro, for chatting.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate being on here. And album is possibly coming out TBD. Maybe later.
Awesome.